Alright, so before throwing you need a few things. You need your bucket full of water, your clay, and then the tools you have, and also this bat. This is called a bat. They're usually in the ceramics club cabinet over there. And basically the way these work is this is what you actually put the clay on when you're throwing so that you can take it off the wheel without a hassle. Also, before you throw you have to attach them. You see they have these 4 circles in the corners. These 2 are further out than these 2. You want to use the further out ones. These 2 won't fit. And the way that works is that they'll end up going over these little stubs on the wheel. Oops. So to attach it, you need to use a little bit of your clay, and you can be plenty generous with this. Basically what you want to do is you want to cover the nubs with a ball of clay and just kind of push into a little nub. And then grab some more clay and put plenty of it at the center of your wheel, like that. Now what you want to do is make sure you get the larger holes, like the further apart, and you want to squish these in to the clay so that you find the nub, so that the nub fits into the hole in the back. And once you have both nubs, you want to squish it down the center. Just go ahead and put your weight on it, and now it won't move. Now when you spin it and center it, it'll be totally stable. So now you take your ball of clay, and to attach it, voila, you just whack it. For a lot of beginners it helps to seal, which is like kind of like shove down the edge like this, just to make sure that water doesn't get underneath, and that'll end up taking your clay off. Once you get better, you can skip this step, but for now I would recommend starting with it all the way around, like that. So now, first step, you spin your wheel. Second step, you get some water on it. Now what you have to do before you can start making a pot is center this clay, which means that it's all spinning evenly. To do that, what you do is you lock your elbow into your body. It can be on your thigh or like in your hip, as long as it's stable and you don't move your arm. To center, you use your body weight and you lean into the clay like this. Also, make sure to keep it wet because you don't want friction. Friction makes it a lot harder to center smoothly. And also, if it gets bad enough, you can end up actually burning yourself. So basically to center, not only do you want to push in with this arm, like I showed you, but you want to push down. That way the clay gets compressed. It has nowhere to go but into a perfect little cake shape. For this arm, also it's important to keep note that it's roughly like a 7 o'clock position from my perspective. You don't want it out here because then you have to use all your arm strength to push in. If you keep it in close to your body, you can just lean. A more advanced technique for centering, other than just pushing, is called coning, where you compress the inside of the clay and you form it into a cone. This is really good for larger pieces that you can't just center at once. So once you make this cone, you start to squish it down. Compress it on the sides while you push down. However, I wouldn't recommend doing this at first because it's a lot harder than centering like this. So once it's centered, and you want to shape it into kind of like a cake. Pretty flat on the sides, flat on the top. You can see that. Now this next step, after you have it centered, and it's not wobbling, what you want to do is open it. You can do this a few different ways. A lot of people like to do it with these 2 fingers. They'll put their left hand here and you put your right hand over, and you push in the center, like this. This step takes a lot of water, so as soon as you start, just go ahead and fill it up with water, as you can see there. So you can push it down like that. Or personally, what I like to do is I like to just use one thumb. Now what you want to do is you want to make sure you go down far enough that you don't have a ton of clay, but you want to keep it probably like a 1/4 inch or 1/8 of an inch, at least like that much. You can just tell by the feel of it, or once you dry it up, you can use your needle tool to check. As you can see, that's about how thick my bottom is there. So now that I poked a hole in it, I gotta squish it up, make sure it's not there. This next step is called spreading, and it'll determine how wide the base of your pot is. And it's exactly what it sounds like, and you can use more than one technique. Basically all it is pulling the walls outward. You're spreading the bottom of the pot. So it's the same position as when you open the pot. However, all you're doing is pulling outward. You're not pushing down. You're pulling outward on the wall. Again, you can do this with one thumb, which is what I like to do. Like that. Once you have this, you know how wide the base of your pot is going to be. You need to make it taller. Right? A lot of times it helps to compress it inward, even though that's optional. And now you can start lifting. Lifting is what happens when you squeeze the wall of the pot, and because it's thinner, it climbs upward. So basically what you're doing is like stretching it upward. The way this works is you want to put your right hand like this, and your left thumb over your right thumb like that. Then these two fingers will go on the inside, these two will go on the outside. What happens is you squish the clay between them, and you slowly move up with your hands. Once you get to the top, it'll be a little bit thicker. It's important not to get carried away here and make it too thin all at once. Pulling happens in multiple steps. You're not going to pull your entire pot on the first pull. As you can see, I still have a lot of clay at the bottom here, about that much. It's really thick. So I'm going to continue pulling. Oops. Just like before. It's just a gentle squeeze. You want to keep that constant pressure and move your hands upward. Nice and slow. It's also important to do this step at a pretty slow speed on the wheel. If you're going fast, while it's technically possible, it makes it very difficult to keep it on center. Basically, it just makes your mistakes hurt you more. Whereas if you're going half speed like I am right now, it's a lot easier to make up for those mistakes. Alright, see, I still have a lot of clay on the bottom, so I'm going to compress it a little bit and try to get it up off the bottom. And I'm going to do another pull. As you see right here, this pot is too tall, so I'm just going to try to stabilize my hands on each other like this. I can't use the other technique. So this is going to be my last pull. As you can see, it's getting a little wobbly, right, from squeezing all that clay. At this point, always make sure to keep it lubricated. I'm just going to bring it back on center just a little bit. Just basically collar it. This is called collaring. Now, I have a cylinder, which is obviously not a vase or anything. I mean, you could still use this for like spaghetti. What? So basically we're going to shape it now. The way this works is you're going to put your hand on the inside of the pot and stretch it out. To do this, you want to make sure it's nice and lubricated. You can use either hand. You can put the left hand on the inside and push outward in this direction. Personally, I like to use my right hand and kind of push towards myself. The other hand, no matter what, will be on the outside supporting the wall. If you don't do this, it's really easy to make it wobble or make it off-center. So basically it's just a little bit of pressure. Right? I'm going to make this like a vase, so I'm not going to do it on the top. I'm going to collar in the top, which is exactly what it looks like. You put your hands around the outside and you kind of gently squeeze it in. As you can see now, it's starting to have a bulge. So we're going to continue this process until we get the shape that I want. As you can see, it's pretty thin now, especially where I've stretched it out. Stretching it out will make the clay a lot thinner, so it's important not to get carried away. Again, I accidentally opened this up, just reaching in there. Oh, quick note. when you're making something like this, which has a narrow top, it's really important to sponge out the bottom. You don't want there to be water. You'll do this on every pot. You want it nice and clean. But especially on like a vase or something tall like this, you gotta remember. Now I'm gonna color it in a little bit more, so that the neck is more pronounced. And I'm gonna do just a little lift here, just like a final touch. You can see again, it's just a little bit of pressure. Oops! That's what I mean about the top. If you get carried away at the top, you can end up screwing it up. However, there is a quick way to fix it. You saw what I did there? I just compressed both sides. I'm going to grab both sides like this and take my finger on top and just push it very gently. This will compress it back to the way it was. You can barely even see I did that now. This will help a lot. You don't have to do it at the end. Every time you do a pull, you can do this, just to compress the rim and make it nicer. So once again, I'm just going to finish up that pull. Compress the top a little bit. And now you see we got all these lines and all this slip, and it's kind of ugly. We're going to take a rib. There's two kinds of ribs you can use. You can use a wooden one or a metal one. They work the same way. Basically, you're just going to scrape the outside of the pot like this. You want to do this on the right side of the pot, or the part that's spinning away from you, so it spins like this. If it spins like this, it'll get dug into the clay and you're going to ruin your pot. So you see there's like a rounded edge for different shapes, so depending on which shape you want to make or smooth out, you can use a different edge. This makes it just look a lot nicer. It's important to get the slip off. This makes it look a lot nicer, and also helps you smooth out your shape. I'll do this a little bit on the inside too, just that all the little chunks of clay are gone. And those are the basics. Oh wait, one more step. When you're using a bat like this, you see how there's a bunch of clay here? You want to do what's called an undercut. You can do this a few different ways. Personally, I think the easiest way is just to take this kind of wooden rib, and you just push in on the side here like this. You see all the clay that comes out? That's all excess clay you want to get rid of. It's not going to be part of your pot. This way it helps keep you from wasting a lot of clay, and it makes trimming a lot. Or actually, you don't even need the trim. That's a whole nother process. If you had left that on, the foot would be really ugly and you would absolutely have to trim it. This way you can have a finished vase with one go on the wheel. So, just add a finishing touch on the rim just to smooth it out. And that's that. I'll be right back. I'm going to grab a wire tool and I'll cut it open. If I can find it. So lastly, you're not going to do this, but I'll just do it for demonstration purposes.
You do that every time.
I do it a lot, yeah. Thank you, Will. As you can see, the walls here are going to be a lot thicker at the bottom. This is to support the pot. Up here it can be a lot taller because it's not supporting as much weight. So yeah, and that's that.
Hey, good job.
Oh, and then you got to clean up. That's the fun part.
No, just don't use this much water next time.
He got mad at
easier.
He got mad at us because we didn't
he had
clean.
to clean up after.
No, don't.
We didn't
no,
clean.
don't
We didn't
build that. Don't build that into the video.
We didn't
I
clean.
don't want to make people think that I'm not nice.
Alright,
That's debatable,
I
but.
think you can cut the video.